Originally, I didn't want to do videos like this. I wanted to keep everything comedy based, but some of my close colleagues did tell me I should start speaking on social issues or certain topics and give my take on it because they like to hear what I have to say. So today I'm going to talk about censorship. I'm going to keep this short, but with censorship, I personally don't believe what the freedom of speech, what's written in the Constitution, I don't believe that's a constitutional right to speak your mind or speak your piece or speak your freedom. I believe that's a human right. You were born with a mouth before you knew anything about any legislation. Nobody was in the hospital while you were crying and screaming out, oh man, nobody was in there saying this is okay and it's legal for you to say this. Here's my issue with the idea of free speech. It's not that you have your own freedom to reaction, because ultimately how you feel about something, if you get offended, you have the freedom to do that. My issue is individuals who tell you what you're supposed to think, what you're not supposed to think, what you're supposed to say, what you're not supposed to say. And they're doing this in colleges, they're doing this in high schools. They're not educating you, they're indoctrinating you. That's the difference there. That's my issue in the schools, but I'll talk about the schools a different time. This idea of this whole free speech. For example, if I were to come and say something, if I'm at a comedy club, I say a joke, I have 72% of the people in there laughing, and the remaining 28 somehow are offended by it. I'm not going to change my speech for you, because ultimately everybody's not going to agree. I don't like this idea of this utopia that social justice warriors like to have in their mind, where everybody's walking and skipping and everybody's getting along. I don't like that sort of lifestyle. Why? Because ultimately I believe conflicting opinions helps with the growth of individuals. Let me give you an example. The idea of debate would have never existed had we all thought the same thing. Nobody would ever have conflicting opinions if we all thought the same thing. You can't really grow your mind if we're all agreeing on everything. You need somebody to disagree with you to grow your mind. And it's this concept of groupthink where everybody gotta think the same that I have such this big issue. Because ultimately, if you want to say something, now you have to tiptoe over the argument that you're trying to make sure you don't offend people. And this personally, with me, I don't care if I offend people anymore. Why? Because I come from a time to where when you say what you say and you deal with how you feel about it, if you feel a certain way, you can either say something back or you move on. But that's where it ends there. I don't go on a whole tirade trying to silence you and stop you from saying what you want to say. I'm speaking my truth. I truly believe in what Patrice O'Neal had to say when he said when he speaks, he lives. Because you speak from your experiences, you speak from the way that you think. So ultimately, if I have an opinion, I generated that opinion. So I'm going to speak about it and I'm going to defend it. That's why I'd rather sit down and have coffee or have dinner with somebody who can come up with their own opinion, generate it on their own, have their own thoughts, go and speak it into existence and be completely wrong. And I can have an honest dialogue with somebody like that rather than another individual who simply heard some and they sit over there being sheltered, or they want to filter themselves and they're stepping on eggshells on what to say and what not to say. I can't have a conversation with you because you're not being real. Ultimately, I live my life being real. I can't walk around here saying I can't say this because it's going to upset you. I can't say this because it's going to upset you. Ultimately, with feelings, that's something that's personal with you. The first question you should ask is not what are you saying, or you shouldn't say that. The first question is why are you saying that? Because ultimately, the term why is the most important word in the dictionary, in my opinion. Because why not only answers questions, it is the question. For example, if I were to say, come over here and talk about, oh, Jews are terrible people, somebody could easily walk over and say, what? You're not supposed to say that. But you never ask why. You don't have a clue. What could have happened in my life to say something like that? Is it a generalization? Yes, it is. Am I speaking about all? Obviously, I'm not. Because if I was walking on the street and I said, hey, there's a lot of Jews over here, and then somebody just came and said, I haven't seen any. So because you haven't seen any, it doesn't exist. You're speaking from your point of view, I'm speaking from mine. You cannot alter mine because of your experiences. You can't tell somebody how they're supposed to speak. Ultimately, if somebody says something that's racist, I want to know why you feel that way. I personally believe I can go to a building where there's nothing but KKK members, sit down and simply ask them why they feel that way and have an honest dialogue on why they feel that way. Because ultimately, they could have made that decision to hate blacks on their past experiences. For example, you look at the Black Panther Party, the base and the core of the Black Panther Party, I don't see any problem with that. But I can understand why there would be white nationalists who have issues with black people trying to be black nationalists. I can understand why you have that gripe. I don't understand why in this society we can't simply have debates. Even if somebody's coming out and they saying a blatant lie, I can come with facts and debate you. I'm not gonna sit over here and talk, I don't even want to talk to you. You're wasting my time. You're saying nothing but that's stupid. I don't want to know why you're saying. I'm just saying you're wrong. You shouldn't be allowed to talk. Because at this point, once you say you shouldn't be allowed, and now we're going to stop people from simply saying things that get on our nerves, people are going to take that to the extreme. Personally, I believe the only way to solve these sort of issues dealing with free speech and censorship is simply to have an honest debate on why people feel the way that they feel about topics. You come to one side of the table with your thoughts and how you feel about certain things with logical points behind there. You come with the exact same thing, and let's have a logical debate. Because if we sit over here and have debates on feelings, we're not going to get anywhere, because you ultimately feel different than I do. I'm a logician. I look at everything through the scope of logic, because logic is very linear. It runs through everything. If it's logical here, it's logical here. There's no sort of fallacy where it's logical here but it's not there. There are going to be a few times where you can have cognitive dissonance, but that's personally on your feelings. That has nothing to do with logic. So if we sit down and we have a logical debate on things, we can personally move forward and get over this whole idea of censorship. That's my take on it, but I'd like to hear how you guys think. So you can leave a like, leave a dislike, leave a comment in the comment section below, and let's have an honest debate about it. Because ultimately, people are going to do what they want to do, but that don't mean we can't speak about it.